Hello, my absolutely beautiful astrology soulmates, and welcome to your weekly horoscope for the week of March 4th, going all the way 24th, going all the way till the 30th. And what a week we have on our hands. The energy is so complex, so dynamic, so laced with all kinds of moments that are really big enough to consider that they are going to start to shape us for years to come, not just what we're experiencing right now, but the kind of years to come kind of energy. And why is that? Because we are not just walking into this new moon solar eclipse that is happening in Aries, which is a starting energy, our cardinal energy, but we're also going to witness Neptune, the planet of vision, spirit, inspiration, faith, illusions, delusions, all of these things is going to enter Aries for the first time since the 1800s. So this is a massive week that we are going to be experiencing, and there's no way I could not just come on and do this week live. So just a couple things for your toolbox before we jump in here and get started with the week. Now, first of all, there's going to be timestamps in the description box down below for every single day. So if you've got a thing going on a date, just go ahead and click down there and you can see what that day has to offer. Also in the breakdown, I'm going to be giving you a little bit about what the culmination of each day is really kind of good for in case you're doing a little bit of planning, okay? As well, this week is your last chance to get signed up for the live Astrology of Transits class, and we kick off just here on April 5th. So really excited. If you want to know how transits work, which when you are listening to a weekly video, we're talking about transits. We're talking about what's going on in the sky. So if you're ready for that level of astrology, you can get signed up in the description box down below. And of course, the Venus Reset program is still on sale until April 12th. There is going to be a separate video for Neptune in Aries because there's a lot to be talking about. And I also want to be able to break that down by house for you so that you can kind of consider how you're being shaped as well. So all of that will be coming available to you. All right, so let's start at the beginning of this week and see what's going on. Now, first and foremost, as we're coming into this week, we are coming in with the moon in the vibration of Capricorn, which is really nice because it's a bit more of a grounded energy. You know, we're coming in structured, grounded, goal-oriented earth energy, but we're also coming in on a cardinal energy. So we are coming in on an energy this week that says we need to make a start, but we just need to do that in a really practical way. Now, before the moon is going to come out of Capricorn and get into that Aquarian energy, the first thing it's going to do is make a sextile to Neptune. And this is going to be just right before it's going to head into its void of course time. But the thing about that aspect that is made before the moon goes void of course is it's kind of like what we can take into the void of course with us. So in this final set of moments before it's leaving Pisces, I feel like this is just a little bit of a soft whisper that says, are your goals practically aligned with what your spirit and your intuition are saying? Because we want to make a practical plan to move towards those things. Now, just after that, we're going to see that the moon shifts void of course, and it's going to be time to rest. This is a very short void of course. It's 24 minutes. So 9 a.m. to 9:24 a.m. And this is mountain time in Colorado. So if you need to adjust your time zones, okay? But this is the time to rest. We're not taking on new projects. We're not starting anything new. We're going to maybe take that question, that whisper, into our void of course time and allow ourselves to just do the review. Now, just after that, about mid-morning, we get to that 9:24. I mean, that's mid-morning for some people. We get to the 9:24 time frame, and we see that the moon shifts into Aquarius. And this is where we have this, like, our emotions move more into the head, into the intellectual space. So it's like our minds open even around emotional things that were coming up. We maybe even crave a little bit more innovation. We want creativity. We're looking for those new perspectives. And I like it because in this way, with all of the energies that have been going on, and that eclipse energy this week is pulsating, so we can feel it. It's pretty tangible. This allows us the position here on Monday to be in the space of curious, but a bit detached. I'm idealistic, but I'm a bit analytical because I am thinking about, what's going on in front of me. So this makes a really beautiful container for Monday. Now, we've got one more big event happening on Monday, and I love this aspect. I'm so pumped for all of us for it because we're going to see the sun come into Cazimi with Mercury, who's retrograde in Aries. And this is when these two come Cazimi, which means that the sun and Mercury are together. When they come into a Cazimi energy, this is like a moment of blessed clarity. Like you just get clarity on something. And it's a time where I can tell you, I've experienced it plenty of times where a message just kind of drops in and it completely reframes what you were thinking about, and it's not like, oh, I'm so mind blown. It can be subtle, but you're like, oh, it just kind of clicked the lens a little bit. And now, since Mercury is retrograde at this time, it might be bringing you new information on something old that's allowing you to see it really, really different. So think about this as an example. I was thinking about this when I was putting the horoscope together for the week, but you might be realizing that you thought something was like a failure, right? Or you're like, oh, this plan has not been moving forward for months. I just think it's not going to happen. This is not going to happen for me. This is not going to happen for us. Whatever the thought process is or has been, let me say it like that, kind of around this. And what you find out is that you have like a conversation and then the ball gets rolling a little bit, or you see it differently, or you're circling back to a conversation that you already had, and then and it's like that. The Kazemi is like suddenly you know what you want to say, you know what you want to do, you know how to say it, you know the decision that's going to need to be made. And I would encourage you here on Monday, if things come to you and they kind of feel like these pops of knowledge, write it down. You don't need to act on it just yet because Mercury is still retrograde, but acknowledge it, document it. If your intuition is telling you something, don't ask why, just write it down. So Monday is a great day that I think is best as we're entering the week for, first of all, rework a strategy, reframe things, get a new idea around some things. That's going to be the energy, but you can know that it's pretty solid. Now, what I don't think that Monday is the best for is making huge decisions, especially about new things. Monday's more of a review, kind of finish the past, let the energy work things out kind of vibration. I really want to say that all week long. Don't do the heavy lifting. Let the universe do the heavy lifting where the universe needs to do the heavy lifting. You just do your part, but let the universe all week long do the heavy lifting. There is a lot of energy going on out there. Okay, when we get to Tuesday, the 25th, we're going to see that Mercury, who's still retrograde, is going to come into a sextile with Pluto. And the moon is traveling through Aquarius all day, okay? So as Mercury comes in and has this team up with Pluto, first of all, the sextile is a soft aspect, right? So it's where you're not only having the opportunity to do something or to take advantage of an opportunity that is presenting itself to you, but you're taking intelligent action. And it's easy. It's easier to get these things done. The effort is easier. But as these two come together, retrograde and all, we're looking for deeper truths. This is where you become that researcher, right? Maybe you learned something on Monday or you had that conversation and it's bubbling down to you later into the day in the afternoon on Tuesday. And now you're like, you're excavating. You're looking for information. You're researching. Oh yeah, okay, I could do it that way. Now let me dig up the information on how I would do that. But remember, whatever's coming up on Tuesday in terms of information, it's likely new because the moon is in Aquarius. So it tells us there's some kind of innovation or outside of your box kind of information you're seeing it from an emotional perspective, but it's very different. And it is not going to be superficial. This is not superficial information. It's not superficial talk. This is the place where it's like, I don't know if you guys have ever done this, but we used to do this thing where you had to ask the 5 whys, right? When you say, oh, I'm afraid of this, and then you say why. And then you say, okay, and then why, and then why, and then why. It's the like, what's underneath all of this kind of conversation. And I do think pairing it with that moon, watch, observe, detach a little bit and see what you're seeing really differently. Okay, as we're rolling over here into Wednesday, first we're going to see, oh, we've got the moon getting ready. It's still in Aquarius for a little bit. And then we are going to see the moon take its last aspect to Uranus here before it's going to step void of course. And this is going to be a longer void of course on Wednesday. We're going to go from 4:15 a.m. till 1:31 p.m. So this one is a bit longer. And I just want to start with saying, as a reminder, or in case it's new information for you, the void of course time, when they're longer, we can have these long senses of like something's off. And it doesn't necessarily mean something's off. It just means that the energy is flat, it's not moving, it doesn't have it, there's no reflection back to it. So sometimes this can be the space where we kick in 110% into the head game, right? The head game gets going on. It's absolutely insane. So I just want you to be mindful of that as we're getting a little bit of a longer void of course time. But what are we taking into the void of course time? Well, we're going to take in the moon having been square to that Uranian energy over in Taurus. So early in the morning, breakfast on the table, there can be emotional surprises that present itself, right? Or it's like maybe there's something a little rebellious in the air, or it's the day because there's a tech issue going on. So I would say give yourself a little bit of extra grace just until the afternoon when we can get that moon back into the vibration of Pisces. Now, later in the day, 2:13 p.m., we're going to see that Mars comes into a square with Chiron. Chiron is in Aries. Mars is the ruling planet of Aries. But as these two come into a square, this one can sting a little bit. It can sting a little bit. The square, however, is giving us information that we need to do something. The square, you don't want to be squished, right? You don't want to be squished in this energy, or you don't want to keep the tension. You want to be able to let your shoulders down. So you'll feel like you need to do something. Now, Mars is still traveling through the vibration of Cancer. So one of the things Mars may want to do is be passive aggressive. Passive aggressive can be an energy that's absolutely coming out of this energy, or it's a bit confused, right? It's not direct. The thing is, it's not coming directly at you because a Cancerian energy is not going to come right at you. It's more indirect. And Chiron is our wounded healer here. It can also be our greatest teacher, but something may be coming at you that feels like it's hitting you sideways in the wound. So it's a day where sometimes the old pain around not being able to act directly, or not being understood, or doubting yourself, feeling a bit powerless on the surface, can be presenting itself. You know, it may be a moment where, think about it very, very practically, because I like the practical things. It's a moment where you need to speak up. You need to speak up. You need to use your big kid voice, and you freeze. And you're like, uh. Or someone saying something and it hits you just right and you snap, right? You snap, but you're surprised. You're surprised. You're like, whoa, I thought I had that wound sorted out. What just happened here? And what I want to say is, first of all, whenever you're dealing with the Chiron wound, some version of you, especially under this square energy, has to really give yourself grace. It's okay. Whatever comes up on this day is the wound looking for light, because it's looking for some healing. So, you know, I would not love for anything to go particularly sideways for you, but I just want you to know that it is a day where there may be some surprises, and you're going to have to get honest about what's being shown to you. Now, what I think this day is the best for on Wednesday is compassion. Have some self-compassion. You know, you've been through what you've been through. You have done a ton of healing, a ton of healing. Identify the trigger that gets flicked off if something does. Now, what I don't think is a good idea here on Wednesday is to blame anybody else. Here's another thing that Wednesday may be good for, to see that even if you don't have an outward reaction to something that's going on, but you feel like your body's having a reaction, even though you're keeping it kind of cool, pay attention to what insight that's bringing to your attention. Because every day, too, we're creeping in on that eclipse in Aries as well. And Chiron is just shy of being outside of that. Okay. So there is something getting started and ending here at the same time. Okay, let's do Thursday first. Thursday, we're going to see that Venus, that's still retrograde, is going to slip back into this Piscean energy. And then as soon as that happens, just a couple hours after that, it'll actually come into this conjunction with Neptune, the node. Okay. All right. So first of all, Venus has been riding and dying through Aries and Pisces, literally ride and die, ride and die. I rode and I died and mostly died, right? So we're back into the kind of died position here with Venus and Pisces, although Venus is massively exalted in this particular position. So we're back with Venus that is not a hustle hard energy. Venus does not go out and get it and club it and drag it back to the lair. Venus points the hips at it, points that energy and tells it to come to me. I receive, right? I receive at Venus energy. I reduce stress in my life with Venus, which means I'm not doing more, I'm doing less. And so somewhere in our journey through that Aries retrograde, we were learning this as well, right? And now we're back to swimming in the deep. We're rolling in the deep, okay? So as Venus comes back here into this Pisces energy, one of the things it can do, it really can, it's very romantic. It can reawaken some kind of romantic illusion, delusion, dream, soul contracts. I believe I'm an evolutionary astrologer. I definitely believe that sometimes soul contracts get reawakened because they need a review in some way. And then having it later in the day also come into conjunction with Neptune at 29 degrees, ready to make its way out at the end of this week into Aries. That is powerful. It is a powerful, poetic kind of energy. So I just want to ask you and leave this here for you to consider this week. What have you believed, or what have your ideals been about love, about your need to have love, about your value, about what beauty really means or is? What have you believed about these things? And they were never rooted in truth. Never, never once were they actually rooted in truth, right? And so sometimes what we're going to find out is like, you know, where has my belief even been dangerous to me? And now I'm going to get prepared to surrender this. Either way, this connection, this sliding back here is a moment where I think it's your invitation on this side of the retrograde to reclaim compassion, reclaim a new truth that's more in alignment with your authentic self and intuition. And you get to do that this time, though, because Venus is back to this place without sacrificing reality. In fact, you reframed reality to go, wait, that was a delusion. So when we're here on Thursday, wonderful, romantic, creative, healing day, lots of spiritual heart on the table for us. It is not the day where, I mean, if somebody like, if an old romance, even in your head, comes back up and you're romancing it, romancing it, romancing it, and it's a delusion. It's not the day to get caught up in the delusion or an illusion of something and carry a bunch of false hope that's not actually going to be, coming forward with you. On Friday, we're going to see that we're going to have another void of course moon time. Very short, 2:29 to 2:35 p.m. As we see the moon traveling through Pisces, the last conjunction is going to be with Neptune at that 29 degrees. So as we make this transition, and then the moon will move into Aries. So as we make this transition, though, from that dreamy energy that's been rocking and rolling here on Thursday, and we're coming back into fire energy, this is really nice because, first of all, it can be like you've been in the dark or you've just been swimming and you're shivering just a little bit, right? And then somebody lights a match and we're like, Okay, now it also lights a little bit of a match because here we are in eclipse mode. Like we're full on, we're at the gate, the show is going on over there. We're just getting in line with our tickets, So I will also say the amp up of energy is something that you might feel, and it's like in the morning on Friday, you might cry and you're in the depth or you're very nostalgic, and then by the time we get to the end of the day you like want to punch pillows. I taught my kids to do that when they were very little if they needed to get extra energy out, especially because they were girls. I was like, you don't keep that in your body, right? So if you need to punch pillows, just don't hurt people. Now, what I want to say about it is integration. Let them both happen. Let them both happen. You are both. You are both of those energies, right? So let it happen, because the other part of it is it's just energy. When we move from Pisces to Aries, it's energy also just clearing itself, getting ready for what is next. Okay, Saturday, here we are. It is time for an eclipse. Now, the eclipse is going to be this new moon solar eclipse in Aries. And if you haven't watched the video that is just about the eclipse in Aries, and I also broke it down in a blog by house for you so you can really get a little bit more impact in your own chart, I'll put that at the end of this video so that you can check it out, okay? But we're going to see the eclipse happening in Aries. Behind that, Mercury is going to slide back into Pisces as well. Everybody's trying to go to Pisces where it's safe and quiet. And we will also see, because of that movement, that Mercury slides into conjunction with Neptune. So first and foremost, let's slide into this eclipse, because the eclipse brings endings. It brings final ceremonies. It brings awakenings. It's a solar eclipse in Aries. So it's going to bring a really big timeline shift in your life where it's like, you've been thinking, praying, working on something, whatever it is, and then it changes really fast. It can be so sudden. And in Aries, which we have already worked on for at least at a minimum of 18 months, it is about reclaiming autonomy, courage, leadership, moving your fire. Aries says, I get to be here, damn it, fully, right? With all my shadow, with all my light, I get to be here. And also, here's my zone of genius. Now, just behind this eclipse that's going to be shifting our energy and starting to bring us into position to realize over the next 6 months how the story is shifting for us, then Mercury is like, cool, and it's going to slide back into Pisces and meet up with that Neptunian energy. So this can be that, here you are, you're having this experience of the eclipse early morning. There can be an intensity of the energy, even if it's subtle and quiet. But by the evening, you're like, what is this? There's a little confusion going on, or maybe you're more attuned to seeing signs or patterns that are presenting themselves. Maybe it's a night of a strange dream, right? You're like, whoa, or just really divine timing presents itself. Like, you will know. Don't push. Just let it unfold. There's a stillness that will unfold the emotional truth and the life truth that's trying to present itself. Now, here's what I would not suggest doing Saturday, really through the weekend, is reacting to everything you feel or everything you think you're getting a sign or a download of. The energies are shifting, the timelines are shifting. So if you've been saying, I would like to have a different experience in the world, you've been in the stages of becoming. You've been becoming. And in order to step into that thing you've been trying to call in this new becoming vibration, it's not going to necessarily feel normal over this next couple days, because you get popped out a little bit, right? So reacting to everything that you see, hear, feel, I would not roll with that. And especially because Neptune's on its way into Aries and it's an outer planet, the things you hear in the news, it may not be what you are thinking it is or what it's presented. Watch, pray, and wait. Okay. All right. When we get to Sunday, We are going to see that this is the 30th. So also just about, I think we have 31 days this month. We do have 31 days this month. So almost completely the end of the month, taking us into April. But we're going to see that the moon is going to come into a square with Mars earlier on in the day, and we will have a long, long, long void of course here on Sunday. We're going to go from 2:17 a.m., that's Mountain Colorado time, to 1:15 p.m. And to me, that feels very, very long after what we were experiencing on Saturday, but not bad. Long is not synonymous with bad, okay? And then after that, later in the day, 1:15, we'll see that the moon comes into Taurus. And thank goodness, because in between, as we're experiencing this void of course energy, we're going to see that Neptune moves into the vibration of Aries. And this is where the real shift happens. So Neptune, after years in Pisces, steps into warrior energy, Aries. This Aries point has been so activated. Aries point is 0 degrees of Aries, has been so activated this year. Now, while this is just a short visit for 2025 into this Aries energy, because Neptune's going to back up and come back into Pisces when we get into October, this is the first taste of what's coming on your new spiritual path. And something to keep in mind, whenever, especially an outer planet, comes into a new sign, it's going to start to flick the vibration of everything it once keyed to the sound of Aries. It's going to go, that needs to be the Aries vibration. That needs to, right? Like stroking a guitar. It's going to make sure that things start getting tuned. So when it goes forward and things in your world and in your being, you're like, whoa, what's that? Right? It's okay. But what always happens when an outer planet enters into a new sign is the things, the people, places, and things that cannot withstand that vibration will have to go. And we will start to see what the things are that go as we're traveling, and certainly as we pull back in this October energy. But as we're here and we're having this little quick taste of this new path, it is going to define an entire generation. We're going to have babies born with Neptune in Aries. This is the next generational vision. Their work, a whole generation's worth of work, is coming in. So it's very exciting. We're going to see the awakening over time of maybe it's you. Maybe you're the next spiritual leader. Maybe you're the next spiritual or idea creator. We're going to see change agents come up and come out of the works as they had the activation in their chart. But it will also really challenge us here to distinguish, right? We're going to have to distinguish the stuff that's coming from this is my ego versus what's rooted in just deep truth. And again, they may not always look like what it is. You know, you may see the person who is, they look like, you know, an influencer. And it's like, oh my God, not another influencer. But then you stop and get past the makeup and the eyelashes and you're like, well, now wait a minute, that's really true. Meanwhile, you've got somebody who is a maybe ideal visual version of what a guru or a teacher is, and you start listening and you're like, they are so full of tacos, I cannot, right? And in yourself, as you're moving out and you're sharing this next version of yourself that has been becoming, it's going to be sorting out what's the ego and what is actually rooted in truth, and that those things may not be the same. A big truth that I think all of us are going to start to be working on is the things that are happening with our bodies. What have we believed about our bodies and our own being and our own autonomy, of course. So if here on Sunday you feel this like strange burst of energy or some like clarity come to the table, or you're like convicted, you know, you're like, no, I believe in this. Check in with your body as well, because your body cannot lie to you. Our bodies, it's impossible for them to lie to us. What happens is we misinterpret what it's saying, but your body knows something before your mind does. Your body and your heart can get on board, and trying to get the head, heart, body all in an alignment can be a whole event. So I want to just say, pay attention. Pay attention. Anchor in here on Sunday with what your new vision is. What's the new vision for your world? What are the philosophies, the relationship with spirituality, the connection to the divine, moving and reaching between the worlds that is going to guide your life? Now, Sunday, I think it's a great day still, especially in the news world, for overreaction or having something presented to you that seems absolutely terrifying, and then you're in overreaction. Now, this is where the moon moving into that vibration of Taurus, I think, is really very helpful for us so that it can ground us down a little bit. Because this is a soul ignition for sure. You know, we got cranked up here, and so much can feel different. Some people are going to feel really free, some people may feel a little bit afraid, or you may feel the imprint of the energy actually come into your body. And we just want to make sure that we can be grounded enough to navigate. This week, I think, is a big bridge between a lot of spiritual endings and beliefs and old truths that are not working out anymore, and needing to step into a space of having some more bold beginnings, right? Like, we've got to have the courage to go. We have to have the courage to let that old dissolve, let the new rise, but to do it in a way that has heart. It has honesty, and it's a spiritual honesty. It's a self honesty. But I also, this is another thing I was thinking about, especially with YouTube, because this idea of like working against the machines and trying to crank out content, crank it out, crank it out, crank it out, right? What is the sacred pacing that your new vision has for your life? What is that? What is that for you? What is the pace that you live that vision out in your being? Okay, let me know how the week goes for you in the comment section down below. I can't wait to connect with you guys. And absolutely, as all of these doorways open this week, if you are ready to study, you are ready to come back to your Venus energy, you are ready for a one-on-one session because you're like, Stormy, some stuff is going down, get in contact with me. Come take classes. Let's speak the language of astrology. However, we're going to do that together, but it's all in the description box down below. All right, my absolutely beautiful friends, I love you a ton. Have a gorgeous, gorgeous week. And I look forward to seeing you not only next week, but I know that your April 2025 video should be out by the time you're seeing this as well. All right, friends.